Hello, welcome back to Soul Clinic with Chang. I'm feeling very fresh this morning, and I think I'm getting settled into the groove that I wanted to find. And I'm liking the shorter videos, under 20 minutes, that I've been doing this couple days. So I'll keep to that rhythm, or try. So last night I had another very impactful shamanic journey with a friend. If you're watching this, if you are one of my first followers, chances are you're here to go beyond the human experience as you have known it throughout the how many decades you've been here. While risking sounding a cliche, a spiritual cliche, it's a surrendering of your human self to your divine self. And what came up in the shamanic journey I had yesterday, the spiritually developed, gifted, however you want to call it, advanced, although I don't like that last term, because this is not a race, this is not a competition. There's no comparison. Spiritually inclined, let's say that. They tend to be a little too humble, including myself. And when it part of what came up in the journey was she making contact to her higher self, let's say that, to help your understanding, although that might not be entirely accurate. The reason why I say it may not be entirely accurate is because, for all intents and purposes, the higher self or the divine self was her too. So it's more like we need to shift the identity from human focused to divine focused. I the difficulty you're seeing me articulating is I don't want to dilute the message, yet I don't want to sound too cliche to make you miss how groundbreaking what I'm saying is. How it could, how groundbreaking it could be in your life if you can process the full gravity of what I'm saying. So part of what I said to help her understand in the session was, it's not like you are contacting a higher part of you. The human you is actually a downloaded version, if you will, of the higher self. Okay? And in that way, I think that's one good way to shift the focus from the humanness to the divineness or your divine origin. You're here to experience heaven on earth. And it's not like it's your job to help bring about heaven on earth here, because it doesn't work like that. It's not like your mission, it's not like your purpose, it's not like your job. Well, it could be all of that, but not in the way that you're used to associate those words to how it looks like, how it pans out in your life. It all happens through you experiencing it. You experiencing, or another word, excuse me, embodying your divine self more and more into your human self. That is my definition of experiencing heaven and earth and living out in your body, in your human body. That is the best way. That is the most impactful way to help bring about heaven and earth on a bigger scale. But when we're talking about heaven and earth, we're not talking about a global scale at all. At least that's not what I mean, that word. It is very personal. It is intensely individual, focused on you. It is lived from inside out, not outside in. It's not something you see on the outside first. You don't see heaven and earth first to experience it internally. You experience it starting from an emotion, a feeling inside, a sustained state of emotion, a sustained state of energy, vibration, frequency inside you. And then your local reality, your personal, individual reality starts to shape into heaven and earth. And the society at large may not start to change dramatically as you experience your own reality within that bigger society at large. But what happens is a ripple effect. A ripple starts from a single point. If you think of the actual physics of it, a single point. And then it ripples out wider and wider and wider. And that single point is within you, and it is you, and the ripple won't happen until the ripple won't reach the corners of the world until something happens, until a disturbance, a change, a vibrational, something happens. Something originates from that single point. Okay? Until that happens, we won't see any change. So change is always from the inside out, not outside in. At least the ones that that last, that stick. And if you want to change the world, you must understand how change actually happens, or the power that's where you can connect, where or how you can connect to the power source that is capable of changing the world. And most certainly, it does not come from your human self or your concept of human self that is separated from the power source, because that's mostly what any concept of a human being is. And chances are you may not, you probably won't need too much elaboration to understand what I'm saying to you. You probably get it intellectually, or more than intellectually. Your heart gets it. It makes sense because your heart gets it, but the difficulty is always translating what you understand as a concept into a lived reality, and that is part of the emotional work. And the emotional work always is an experiential work, because until you actually learn it through your actual life experience, no learning is complete. It doesn't stick. You may understand it, but as I said in my earlier videos, the mind, which it thinks it understands things, but at the same time it can also argue for the exact opposite of that statement. So the mind is dualistic by nature, and it cannot decide which is right. So for example, are you loved unconditionally by the universe because you are a child of God? Or are you subject to human suffering? Which one is it? And if you only engage the mind and don't go beyond, it will always swing between I deserve everything for free because God loves me, to I'm just human, like how can I be exempt of all the human suffering that I see around me? And even when we look at the from the perspective of traditional religions, this conversion, this surrender of your human self to the divine self that I talked about earlier, it always happens after an emotional experience, almost a mystical experience that happens, that defies any intellectual explanation or understanding. And now, what you're called to do is open up to that new emotional experience, emotional renewal that happens through something of a mystical nature, a mystical encounter. But it is only mystical. It's not mystical because it's not something out of this world physically. It is out of this world to you internally from your internal reference point, because it is so new. You haven't experienced anything like that before. And in order to open up to that, we need to be ready to go beyond the emotional loop that we may have been caught up in. And yes, emotional work involves feeling the feeling, not trying to change it, not trying to suppress it, not trying to explain it away. That is important. Yet at the same time, before we, it can get addictive, or you can get stuck in that feeling loop. And there is an end to it. There is an end point to the seemingly unending cycle of feeling something similar, feeling the same uncomfortable feelings. And that emotional renewal, just like any other thing that's good in life, it comes by grace. It comes through grace. So all you need to do is ask that you are ready for a new emotional experience. You're ready for a new cycle that is above the human range of emotions of pleasure and pain. I'm not saying you go beyond pleasure, but it's more like a pleasure without any opposite. A new type of baseline that goes beyond that dualistic nature of hot and cold, that constant swinging between the two extremes. So, my message for you today, we're coming close to the 20-minute mark, is ask if should you choose, should you feel ready, you can ask for an emotional renewal, a new kind of an experience that will change your mind about who you are, that will blow your mind about you being just human. Ask to be shown how loved you are, how much you are cared for. Maybe your doubts won't get shattered all in one fell swoop. But the asking is important. It may happen in a series of events that may span not just months, but maybe years or even decades. But we gotta start somewhere. And after that experience, you can look back and say, it all started with me asking. And I didn't know it could be that simple. Maybe not easy, but simple. Because what you ask and it is given. Okay? Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one.